Please welcome Eddie Obeng.
Thank you very much. Great. Thank you very much. First of all, thanks for inviting me, and thanks also to the people who are not in this room. We have about 45 minutes to get you ready for the future. Is that a good plan? Okay. So I'm hoping we can be interactive in this room and in the other rooms. So to be interactive, it's important you know who's sitting near you, just so that when you speak out and things, it's not embarrassing, okay? Plus, I'll give you some jobs to do together. So the most important thing is to know who is behind you, because the people you're sitting next to are your friends. So just turn around and say hello to the people behind you. Okay. So, are they okay? Can we go? Great. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to start with some of the things which I don't understand, and maybe you can help me, because you're thinking about cities, and I have many strange things I don't understand. The first one I want to share with you is the town I live and work in is a town called Beaconsfield in the UK. And it's a very strange town because it's inhabited by these weird people who are time travelers. They can travel through time. They're amazing. They look like us. You know, they dress like us. But they're not the same as us. Look, what happens is they live in a house, 21st century house at home, connected to the internet. They can Facebook their friends. They can watch YouTube. They can do all sorts of amazing things. But every morning, they wake up and they get dressed, and they put on clothes, and they travel for, 15 minutes, half an hour, to go to this place called an office. Do you know of these things called offices? It's an amazing place. So, they've come from the 21st century, but the office is in the 20th century. You cannot do anything on the computers. They're all locked down, and they're all stuck in little rows like that. It's 20th century perfect office. So you must imagine that the reason they left the 21st century with all the connectivity to travel to the 20th century is to do something interactive, human, to laugh together, to be creative, post-its. But no. They sit at these things called desks in front of computers, and they do this thing called email. Have you come across email? Email, it's an amazing invention, 20th century invention. It's just like a letter, but electronic. And it works like this. I email you, you email her, she talks to him, he emails me, I reply to her, he bumpers it. And then we send many, many emails, and finally we realize many people are involved, so we go, we must have a meeting to discuss this. But we travel to different offices, so we cannot have a meeting. So they use another 20th century invention. It's called audio conference call. I don't know if you know this one. Amazing invention. Everybody dials the same number. Bleep, who's there? Eddie. Bleep, who's there? Fritz. Okay, great. And then they talk. My definition of audio conference call is one person talking, everybody else continue to do their email. It's amazing. So they're doing all these things, but they're all 20th century things. And they're in an environment which is designed for the 20th century. And if they have to do something different, they have to travel from the office to come here to meet and have a festival. It's amazing. Have you come across this before? And then at the end of the day, they travel back to the 21st century, and because they're a bit bored, they buy these things called devices. I don't know if you know them, but they're like square with a shiny screen, and it's like a cat, because you stroke it and swoosh it, and it talks to you. And then they travel back to the 21st century. Does anyone understand that one? I'm not saying you shouldn't go to an office. I'm just saying that perhaps the configuration of our lives should be different. We don't all have to go to the office at the same time. We don't all have to do things in the office at the same time. You guys create the city. The cities are usually, in many countries, designed for a previous century. They're designed on assumptions on when people will travel, what they're traveling for, where they're going to go and work. Those assumptions, because of the way the world has already changed, may not be true anymore. So that's one thing. The second thing I don't understand, people tell me they're busy. Obviously not you guys. You have nothing to do, just hanging out at Kennisdag all day, okay? So I get a lot of people and they say, I'm so busy, I have no time to do anything. And my favorite cartoon at the moment is this one here. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but it's basically, it's a man selling round wheels and everyone's saying, no, thanks, we're too busy. That's my favorite at the moment. But moving from that, this is my other favorite diagram. Now, this one is my favorite because it works like this. It starts with other people, not you, obviously, who, who have a high workload. So let me come a bit closer, then you can see. Where should I go? I'll go, just give me 1 second, I'll get a little bit closer. Okay, so other people who say things like, I don't know, where should we go? We'll go to, we'll start with the one which says, I have a high workload, okay? Obviously not you guys, you have nothing to do, really. Just this one here. A net result of that is that you don't really take time to plan, you don't have the time to plan, to do, or to be creative. The net result of that is that you don't realize how much work you're committed to and you've only done half. And as a result of that, you keep saying yes more than is realistic, which of course then pushes your workload up, giving you less time now to plan or to do anything or to be creative. So sometimes you come close to deadlines other people think are important. And because they're keen to miss their goals, they come and they interrupt you. So a lot of time is spent restarting half-complete jobs, which of course then pushes your workload up, giving you less time to do or to plan. So now people know you're disorganized and they can send you emails and text messages in the night and get away with it. And it goes round. Okay. Have you seen this happening to your colleagues at work? How could I know your life before I met you? It's strange, isn't it? It means there's something bigger than all of us which is happening. And in this diagram, I put a couple of things like, for example, I put over here, life is just tough. Things have gone south, all our budgets are cut. That's just tough. These two are quite interesting. I try to do things the way I always have. And this one here, many of the things I do have little effect. I'll tell you a story about that one. I once got a group of people like you to keep a diary on a spreadsheet for a week. And then I said, add up the time you spent and see of the percentage of time you spent, how much of it either made your life better or actually delivered the results. It was a business, so I said made more money. Do you know what the average percent useful time was? Guess. 20 minutes, 20%. Just under 20%, about 15%. Wow, I almost quit what I do to join these guys. They get full-time salaries. They go to work on Monday, they do nothing. On Tuesday, they do nothing. You with me? By Wednesday, they're bored. They bring some beers in. By Thursday, they have pizzas. They have a good time with some music. Friday, they go in, they start to party. Then somebody rings the bell. Bang, bang! 10:23, time for real work, 15%. No, of course not. That's not true. They work non-stop, day and night, sweating. You with me? What are they doing? We described it already. The strange old 20th century behavior, which uses up a lot of their time, but doesn't actually use the opportunities of the technology and the opportunities of a future we can create around them. They spend their time burning too much energy, either for themselves or around them, because of how they work. Do you understand? I don't know why people do this. Do you know why people do this? You get paid for it. Yeah, but why do the bosses pay you for that? That is even more crazy. So we already discovered two things. One, that we have to rethink how we use the 21st century opportunities to reshape how we live and work and how we connect as human beings. And we need to use it to reshape how we actually deliver. Because in many places I go to, they tell me things like, we have no budget, we have no time. And they are stressed. Huh? I work in lots of corporates, and it's very serious because a lot of the senior people, they get ill from working too hard. And yet they don't have to. Isn't that weird? Is it just me or? Okay. So the third thing I don't understand, which I want to share with you. While this technology is going on and everybody else is ignoring it, there are some strange people around who just go and break things. And this also has an impact. I have here a number of different organizations. The one, that's interesting, that's water. Okay, the one. How did that happen? The flowers. Okay, so the one I want to share with you first is this is a classic story. This is a company called Airbnb. I'm sure you heard about them. So in the past, when you were planning a city, I'm sure you planned, this is where the offices go, this is where the hotels go. Now we have Airbnb. 2008, it started, 13 million, 15 million people per year it gets beds for, but not in hotels. How do you build that into your planning? Are you with me? It starts to compete with people like Hyatt. If you're not rethinking the way the world is changing, you're busy building an environment which doesn't match how people behave. I give you another one. This is one of my favorites. This is called Fidor Bank. It's a German bank. It's an internet-based bank. And what they do is, if you join them and you put on your Facebook page that you like them, they improve your interest rate. Okay? Because it means you're recruiting your friends to come and join. Are you with me? So they don't have to do the marketing. So why should they not give you more money? So that's another interesting one. This one also amuses me. This one here, it's I'll just turn slightly to the right. This is a pop-up shop. I don't know whether you've ever seen pop-up shops before, but pop-up shops mess up your mind. Stop and think about it. You plan in detail. This is the plaza where we will do this, and then some guy goes, okay, can I have a permit just for a shop for 3 days? Hello? You with me? Do you understand? We have to embrace that and think about how do we build in a flexible way, in a modular way, which allows and enables these new ideas which come up. The one in the middle here is me. This is what I do, because I'm actually secretly one of these digital disruptors. That's what I do for a living. This is where I used to work, a typical business school. This is where I work now, another business school. This is how I live. You saw me already. I'm an avatar. When we started, you were looking at the screen, okay? And this is just one of my classrooms. That's why I'm working around. This is a classroom with a whiteboard. Okay, I'm walking around the classroom. This is classic whiteboard. We designed an environment which is designed a little bit for what we call oldies. Yeah, if you can use a mouse and a keyboard, you can do it. Because we wanted to build a virtual environment for grown-ups, for executives, for the people who make the decisions. You with me? Not for the kids. So that's what I do. It's an environment I work in. Why is this important? Because I can spend a day in about anything from 1 to 100 to 200 cities. How do I do that? I sit at home in my pajamas, okay? I wake up at 4 o'clock. I run a conference for people who have logged in, and each of them gets a little avatar. Let's say in Melbourne. 2 weeks ago I did that, okay? So I'm in my pajamas, and they're in Melbourne, and we run a session like this. Then I go back and I sleep a little bit. Then I wake up. Then I run a session in Hong Kong. Are you with me? And then I can jump around the world. And some of the sessions are international. People will log on from around the world. So I'm in many cities. The reasons for bringing people together are no longer just for communication. That's the old century. The reasons are to have a human experience because the technology can allow us to connect. So if you're thinking, we're just building it so people can have a nice little community, it's not enough. You have to think about how they behave in the community, how that brings value to their lives. So that's what I want to try and put. I already made a lot of trouble. So now I want to know, what do you want to learn from this session? Eric explained I'm an educator. So I'm going to give you some homework. I want you to imagine that the next, how long have we got? 35 minutes is fabulous. You learn how to be ready for the future, to be cool when there's change. I don't know how to influence. Sometimes your colleagues, they will not change. So how to overcome resistance to change. I don't know what it is. What is it which, if you learned in the next 35 minutes, would make it the best 35 minutes of the whole day? No, I put the pressure on myself. Make it the best 35 minutes of any conference you went to. No, I put more pressure on myself. What is it you learn, which if you got it in the next 35 minutes, which you learn, would make it the best 35 minutes of your whole life? Okay, this might not happen, but you never know. There's some strange people out there. So, what is it you would like to learn? And second question, what don't you want me to waste our time on? So, question 1 is your hopes. Question 2 is your fears. I'm giving you, it'll be 2 minutes max. Okay? Discuss with your new friends in groups of 3. I will collect the first 3 or 4 comments, and we use that to make our agenda. How about that? Yeah? Interaction? Yeah? Yes? Yeah? So just talk for a couple of minutes, and we'll use that to make our agenda. Okay? Great. Was it useful just to talk to a few people? Great. Okay, so I will share with you my biggest hopes and fears. My biggest fear at the moment is the lack of interaction. I'm really worried about that. The second one I have is I'm afraid you won't take any notes. Because if I make jokes and things, you may not think it's serious. Plus, if you go to a meeting and you take the notes, everybody thinks you're going to do the work. So normally people don't take notes, but it's important you make some notes. And the third fear I have is a fear of zombies. Yes, zombies. They're a bit like They're strange people. Strange. They look just like us, a bit like the time travelers. But their minds have been removed and put inside their devices. So they walk like this. Okay, great. Okay, so that was a joke. Anything particular you want us to talk about? Are there any particular things? Should we start with the hopes or the fears? Which one do you prefer? I don't mind. One hopeful person. Okay, we start with the hopes. So, what do you want me to cover?
How to get a lazy and smart professional so you can be a creative and busy amateur.
So you can go from a lazy, smart professional
To be a busy and creative amateur.
Okay, how to convert yourself, so transforming yourself. I got creative amateur. Okay, sorry, the writing is for me, it's not for you. Okay. Unless you can read it. Okay, great. Any more hopes? One is how to transform myself. The next one? Any more hopes? Any more things you want? Yeah, just shout.
How to deal with the email overload.
Deal with email overload. Okay, that one is easy. And maybe one or two more, just go.
How to bring more energy and movement in during the day.
Yeah, absolutely. In day. Yeah, so the whole dynamic of moving, rather you arrive, you sit in front of your screen, 100 emails, then you have to fight your way through them like the jungle, cutting stuff down, and then it's growing faster than you're killing it. Okay, great. And maybe one more.
How can we act globally but live locally?
Okay, so how to have the reach of the world, but just be at home and with your friends and then a good place to work with your colleagues. And finally,
How to have 50% effective and we have to do that.
how to be happy with 50% effective. If you're being creative, 50% actually is a high level of efficiency. Because when you're being creative, many things will go wrong. Yeah, so you're relying on the few things which go right, which have such a big impact that it's worth doing. Yeah, so it's quite an interesting one. Okay, I can do that. Great. Any fears? Anything you don't want me to spend my time on? I missed that? Meetings. Okay, but that's after this, huh? Okay, meetings.
Most people here are working for the city of Amsterdam.
Yes.
I think most of them never meet people living in town.
Oh.
They are sitting behind their desks. They are mailing, but they don't know for who they are working.
Real Amsterdam people. Okay, I got it. I got it. I know this one.
They don't live in Amsterdam. Many of them
Don't live there.
They don't live in
They meet on the train. They don't talk to anybody. They come. They sit on the computer. They send emails, and they go on the train. Swoosh, swoosh, swipe back home. I got it. I know. This is a problem. I'm a professor, and other professors are very funny to me because they never do what they're teaching. You know, so they'll say, we must do more digital. I say, here, come on my cube and come and work. Oh, no, I don't like that. So it's the same sort of craziness, huh? Great, don't tell them they're crazy. Okay, great. So let's start to move. I think where I want us to move to then is just to understand the real world around us very quickly, and then we'll build some of those solutions. You see, the thing is, I don't know if you have noticed, but the world's going faster. Am I right? That's easy. Everybody knows that, okay? So I put an axis there. This is now. That's the past. Which is higher? Now or the past? In terms of change, interaction, complexity, global connections, which is highest? That was an easy one. That's the trick one, okay? How are the 2 points joined together? Why is it exponential? There are more information, faster technology, Moore's law that computers get faster, more people on the planet, also growing exponentially, you understand? More interconnections, that also grows exponentially. That's not interesting. How are we then, this is the world, learning and changing? When I started, and Eric mentioned I worked in Shell, we used to do things like budgets. Do you know budgets? Budgets are amazing things. Basically, you write something which shows what you're going to be doing for a whole year. Amazing. Okay? So these days, one of my clients said to me, we're going to do budgets for the next few weeks, so I cannot talk to you. I said, wow, you still do budgets? He said, yes. I said, how do you do it? Is it like one day and you get everybody just to put a post-it? He said, oh no, we believe in a top-down, bottom-up process. 3 months. I said, 3 months? Full time? They said, no, only a third of our time. I said, really? I said, how many managers? They said, 300 managers. Can you imagine? 300 managers for 3 months for a third of their time. That's 300 manager months. I said, do you know how much a manager month costs? They said, what do you mean? Manager month is usually about 5 to 10,000 euro. Am I right? Let's use 10 because I cannot calculate with 5, okay? Okay, so 10,000 euros, 300. This is 3 million. I can't do it. Euro 3 million, okay? Do you understand? Invested in a plan to help them to know what they're going to do through the year. I said that must be an amazing plan. If you spend 3 million on it, it must tell you who to phone, where to go, which door to open. Amazing. They started to laugh. I said, why are you laughing? They said, before the ink is dry, it's already obsolete. I said, no. They said, yes. I said, I'm not greedy. Give me just 1.5 million. I will make a plan just as bad as yours. You save 1.5 million, everybody's happy. Guys, what's happening here is that quite simply, the game is very different. Once upon a time, we could learn faster and the world was changing. And that's why we did things like planning and budgets. What's happened to our ability to learn and change? I'll move the pen horizontally. If you think it's gone up, shout up. If you think it's slowed down, shout down. If you think it's the same, shout the same. Just think about how your job is changing, how easy it is to influence people to do things differently, how quickly you're finding out what the real people need. Okay, I'm going horizontal unless you tell me. Up, down, the same. So let's make this 20 years, okay? So this is 2015, this is 1995. Action, go. Do you see the problem? It's quite flat. Because when you want to learn something, you have to learn something which is related to your job. And when was your job designed? Last year or 10 years ago. So you learn stuff which is related to what was required 10 years ago. And if you're trying to do something different, you have to convince your manager, you have to convince your colleagues. You understand the problem? It's flat. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is this breaks everything. I call this point here midnight. If you've seen my TED talk, you'll know that I really think that the way the world works here and the way the world works there are completely different. And that is why the time travel happens. That's why we haven't rethought what we do with our offices and our cities. That's why everyone's working too hard, because most of what you're doing is not helping you. Have I explained it correctly? This is important because from here we're going to use this to understand all the answers to the hopes you wanted and also to rethink what we've got. Now, I'm going to give some time for you just to talk because this is quite a crucial thing, but I will explain from a business perspective, so not necessarily your world, some of the weird things which happen around it, and then I'll let you think about your world. So, just for me, just for 2 minutes, I want you to stop being nice people, and I want you to turn into, you're not nice people? Oh, you're nice people. I want you to turn into, you don't know what I want you to turn into. I want you to turn into greedy, cigar-smoking capitalists in your head. Just for me, just for about 2 minutes, okay? So stop thinking nice about your society, and just a greedy cigar-smoking capitalist. And I want you to be a greedy cigar-smoking capitalist who has woken up on the left-hand side before what I call midnight. In other words, before the two lines crossed over, okay? So this is you. You're a greedy cigar-smoking capitalist. I'll draw you over here. This is you in bed. That's your bed, okay? And here's the smoke from your cigar, okay? Great. So, you've woken up in the morning. First thought in your head. What is the first thought in your head as a greedy cigar-smoking capitalist?
Money.
Money, thank you very much. Followed by, second thought?
Money.
More money, fantastic. And then, what's the third thought? Whiskey, no. Even more money, surely. And then finally, you go, how? How am I going to get more money? You with me? So let's just think about the old environment. If you're in a world where you can learn fast and the world is changing, if you want to make more and more money, do you wake up and then do some new crazy things just to see how it goes like an amateur creative? No, you have to be crazy. You do what you did yesterday. In other words, the best formula is what's called more of the same. If you're going to do more of the same, tell me how you approach, say, customers. When the customers say, we don't like your product very much, what do? You say, no, it's good. Just a cheaper price, buy more. You don't start to change things. You don't design yourself around them. You want more customers for what you did yesterday. Am I right? Yes? Okay, great. How do you approach, say, suppliers? Do you think of them as partners? No, you kick them and stamp them and squash the price. Yes, okay, great. So let's look at your employees, your people. How do you approach your people? What do you want from your people? Work, productivity, work hard, brilliant. So, which type of people do you want working for you? Do you want people who are crazy guys, who are creative and spend 50% efficiency coming up maybe with one great idea? Or do you want the smart guys who do as you say? Yes, I knew it. You see, you're getting into it. This could be dangerous. Don't keep this mindset, okay? So, I just did, oh my goodness, sorry. I got too excited. You see, the problem is that I'm actually wearing wearable tech. So every now and again, when I get a little bit too excited, so that's my mouse. My mouse is on my arm. You with me? No, don't close it. Why does it want to close it? I don't want you to close it. Don't be silly. Okay, so that's basically what I'm doing. I know it's magic, isn't it? I know. People just go, how on earth did you do that? And I go, well, I'm pretty cool. Okay. So, yeah, I'm one of those strange people. Okay, so what happens is that very quickly you bring people into the organization. You bring people who can do what you want them to do with deep experience of doing the same narrow thing. And if you're clever as a greedy capitalist, how do you organize them? Do you mix them all up? No. Structure, put them all together. Here's all the salespeople. Here's all the architects. Here's all the designers. Here's all and you keep them apart from each other and go, that's your division, that's your department. You keep them apart. Why? Because if you want them to do as you say, you don't want them talking to each other. They might discover stuff. Plus, if you group them by their skills, all the architects just talk to other architects, and guess what happens? They get really, really good at architecture. You with me? So their productivity goes up. You got that? I had a funny one. My nephew went for an interview, and they said to him, as they were showing him around, they said, this is where you'll be working. And he said, why? And they said, no, this is your department. If you join us, this is where you'll be working. And he said, I don't understand why. And they were pointing at a desk. And he was thinking, why the hell do I need a desk? You see the difference in mentality? It's funny, that. Anyway, so first of all, we group. Yeah, keep going. So first of all, now we group them by their skills, okay? And sales, marketing, that makes them more productive. And then if you're really clever, as it gets bigger, you have to do this magical thing. What do? You take the best one of them, you say now you're a manager, and you put them in charge of the others, and you create this lovely design, which looks like this. I don't know if you saw it before. Okay? Okay? This person tells that person, that person tells that. This was built many years ago, okay? And you build a beautiful machine like that. Young people join where? What's the lie you tell them when they join? One day you'll be at the top. Why is it a lie? Because you are there and you're not going anywhere. But they don't find out you lied to them because next year we get more of the same. And more younger people come below them and the organization grows. They stay in the same place and the grows below them, but they think they went up. It's like when you're on a train. It's like when you're on a train and the other train moves and you think you're moving. It's the same problem. Okay, great. So this is all good stuff. And it's a fantastic design. 2 people in the organization. I'm going to do a joke here. 2 people I'll call this one here Bob, and I'll call this one here Bill, okay? Bob met a customer. He met a real person. Maybe Bob, instead of sending an email to one of the people, the citizens, actually got in the car, or no, you guys, bicycle. Got on the bicycle and went to meet the person and had something to eat, a cup of coffee, and he really understood it. So Bob comes back, and Bob changes something in the organization, but without talking to anyone. It impacts on Bill's department. What does Bill do? He complains. He says, look what Bob's done. I cannot hit my target. He's spending my back. So he complains. Who does he complain to? Is he complain back to Bob? No. Why no? That's crazy. That's like, he has upset me. I come to you and say, he's upset me, you know. It's crazy. Do you know why we do that? It's because, around the corner, you have this shipbuilding thing where you used to build, one ship every day? The big ships with the ropes? Okay. This is where this idea comes from, okay? Where they used to build the ships with the ropes. If you're the captain, you cannot move all the ropes at once. You have to move one rope at a time. So if you're standing here and you want to move a rope, you have to tell somebody. But they cannot hear you because it's noisy at sea. So they say, lash the down to the crew kringle. The message goes down the chain. Lash the down the chain. Down the chain of command. Down to the guy doing the work. He ties the knot. He has to report back. You with me? Yadam, yadam. And they say, hoist the sail. You with me? Got it. They did not have mobile phones in those days. So you go up the reporting line till it comes to you. You have been called from the spa where you were having a good time. So you knock your direct reports heads together. Two like lightning bolts. Zzzump, come down. One zaps Bill, one zaps Bob. What does Bill learn? Don't complain. They're all crazy. Just do your job. What does Bob learn? Don't change. Don't listen to those customers who are out there and wait for an opportunity to get a little bit of revenge on that bastard Bill. Which is great because it maintains a level of distrust and it stops people doing anything which is not more of the same. Guys, I'm talking about an organization. You're building physical structures. You have to think about what behaviors they generate as well. If you were trying to design an organization, people working together for a fast-changing new world, you wouldn't do that. Your suppliers would be partners. Your staff, you'd encourage them to grow. You wouldn't just look for deep experience. You look for deep experience and connectivity. It's a different game. So my challenge to you is from all the crazy things I've said so far, I'm just starting to tease into your mind. What do you think we now need to start to think about doing differently? We will structure it, but I just want you to have a short conversation. What's it, a minute? We don't have so much time. Just talk. Yeah, it's crazy. No, I don't agree. And then we take some answers. Yeah? Great. So I start the timer, okay? We go. So, any thoughts or questions or comments or ahas or any questions? Does it make sense? So what happens is, we'll start it slowly. We have to think about everything a little bit differently. I put 2 cards on the seats where you are. I don't know whether you noticed or not. Did you get them? They should have been on the seat. Great. My brother. So, there's one with a picture of a strange guy on one side. And on the other side, it says, evolve, dominate, or die. And this is what we're going to work on for the next couple of minutes. You can see there's a difference between the old environment, the world before midnight, where it made sense to build on things like concrete fixed structures as opposed to modular and changing structures. You can see that human beings fitted with that world. We move to the other world, and the world has to fit with the human beings, and the structures have to be flexible and adaptable. So that's just structures. So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you one of 3 tasks to do. I want you to think first in terms of success. And I will get a bit closer in here so that you can see what I'm going to ask you to do. So it's a really, really specific piece of work. You have to choose which one you're going to work on. Either spend some time thinking about how we change ourselves, how we have made change in the past. On the left, I've written, we have been successful by. So up until now, City of Amsterdam, what have you done to be successful in trying to make change work? We have been organized, we have had lots of reporting, we have made lots of planning. That's what would go here and the processes. What about your people? Oh, we have a good communications document, we have a newsletter, I don't know what it is. But these are the good things you did in order to make change and transformation great, okay? Now I want you to think about this crazy world we've just been discussing. So what in the future will we need to do to be successful? When we're making change, should it come from us? Should it come from the real citizens? Should we involve them during it rather than ta-da at the end? Hey, we did it. What do you think? I don't know. What processes should we use? Because we already joked about emails. I didn't tease you about reporting, but reporting is another crazy thing companies do. I have a line which I like to say to senior executives when they say, we need more reports. We need to know what's going on. I say, if you have a pig, weighing the pig does not make it any fatter. Do you understand? The report is of the past. What you want people to report to you is what they are planning and thinking about doing in the future, the creativity they're going to bring. You want them to say, next month I'm concentrating on these areas in order to achieve that. That's a good report. The report for the past should be very small. See, in the old world, yesterday and today were the same. You remember that's why we were doing budgets. So if you knew what happened yesterday, you could use it to guess from the report what should happen next. But it's not like that anymore. So, transformation. This could be the topic you want to think about. Or Topic number 2, you have a choice, is, which one should we use? Yeah, I'll do this one, is government. Government is quite interesting and quite funny because many different reasons. I mean, I'm using government in the big terms, as in governing the city, thinking about the future of the city, and so on. I'll give you 2 stories very quickly. The first story I'll give you is I went into a shopping mall, and in the shopping mall they had the sign, "Now fully open." Do you know the sign? Now completely open. And I started to laugh. And the friend I was with said, "Why are you laughing?" You know, have you seen these things before? Sometimes they put a sign like that saying, "Now fully open." Have you seen that before? Open. And I was laughing. I said, "Why?" I said, "Why are they telling us?" They're telling us because before it was not fully open. What? Why? You see, before, what they used to do was, if they were making a shopping mall, they would plan the whole mall. So here we go at the mall, the shops, the place for the children to play, da-da-da. And they start to spend the money. And they go spend. Then when everything is built, they have a big opening ceremony and the money comes in. You got it? Many people run their changes like that. They think about them in big terms. But if you're going to run a mall and say now fully open, what are they telling you? They did it in chunks. They built the first expensive shop, then they added the place for the children, then they break it into chunks. Why? Why would you chunk something up with the effort and the benefit and the effort and the benefit? Why would you do that? You have leverage, successes, you can change it. So in the new world, which one fits better? Yeah. And so we have to think about, how do we plan? How do we think about things? How do we govern it? How do we connect to people? When we make rules, do we put a sell-by date for the rules? You with me? In most organizations, they will have policies, they put them in, but they never take them out. So people will say, "I have to make this in triplicate." I say, "Why?" They say, "Oh, in 1972. So how do you make your plans, your rules, your laws? What, do you put timelines on them or what? I don't mind what you do, but that's the second conversation. And then the third conversation, I don't know how, is you, me personally, my role. Oops, me. What is my role in making this change happen? You know, maybe in the past you were a manager, you saw your role as to allocate resources, and that made you very successful. Wow, fast, complex, changing world. Do you want to allocate all the resources, or do you want to keep some secret? When I worked with Electronic Arts, when they're making a computer game, okay, they don't give the individual program managers their budget. So if they're making, like, one guy is making Harry Potter, another's making like FIFA football and so on, they don't give them budgets. They keep one central pot. Why? Because if you give them the budgets, guess what? They will spend them. And you then have no flexibility. Whereas if you keep all the budgets and they have to keep asking, they only get a little bit. And if one game needs a lot of money, you can give it to them. That's a different way of managing than allocating resources traditionally. I'm just adding that one in. So I'm going to give you time to think. I'm going to give you time to talk. If you get a chance, there's a video called World After Midnight. And in that video, at the end, there are 12 typical mistakes people make when they try to move to this new world. And I'm not going to list them for you because that'll take too long and it's boring. But I'm going to give you a full 4 minutes. Choose, as a trio, do we want to think about now and ready for the future about change and transformation? Or do we want to think about now and ready for the future about how we govern and run the city? Or do we want to think about now and in the future about our role? And then have a discussion and try to come to see what the differences are. And then I'll collect some of the thoughts. But it's a whole 4 minutes. You have plenty of time. I expect high-quality results. The time has started. Let's go. Okay. I have to stop the conversation there. I'm not going to take the answers because you've worked them out yourself. The thing I'm hoping you will say yes to is, did you notice that the things on the left are different from the things on the right? Did you notice that? This is the secret. The way you make yourself ready for the future is that creativity. I'll tell you a little story which will wrap everything just quickly. You see, the thing about us as human beings is we're not really designed for change. Do you like change? Yes. Most people say yes, but I ask them, do you like the change you do or the ones other people do to you? Correct. So the net result of that is it's hard to make change happen unless you drive it yourself. We're designed very strange. In the days when we used to be hunter-gatherers, we had a big problem because all the other animals were better animals than us. You know, in the morning you say, goodbye, darling, where are you going? I'm going to the office to hunt and gather. They would not just wave you goodbye and say, bring milk at the end of the day. They would give you a big hug. Because Usain Bolt, fastest man on the planet, runs at 26 miles an hour. A rabbit can do 32 miles an hour. You with me? It's a problem. So, and cats can scratch. So what happened was we were rubbish animals and we were always getting eaten. So why are we at the top of the food chain? If you ask that question, it makes no sense. And the reason is very simple. You stop and think about it, you know. They'll tell you in the books that it's because we had big brains. So imagine we're out hunting and gathering together. Hunt and gather, out of the bushes bursts a saber-toothed tiger with the big teeth. Ah! Okay? If you switch on your brain and start to think, what's the strategy? What did we learn on that knowledge day? You're going to get eaten. Yeah? They'll tell you also other things like we had tools. It's not true. We only had sticks and stones. There's only 2 tools, or maybe 4, big stone and little stone. You with me? They'll tell you things like we used our thumbs. Because other animals, when they have to eat, they put their face in the food, but we have thumbs, so we can sort of, you with me? Use cutlery and chopsticks. But when the tiger is coming at you and you go, stop, it doesn't stop. And then they'll tell you that it's because we worked as a team. They'll tell you that. All of us together, hunting and gathering as one. Chanting the hunter-gatherer chant of hunt, gather, hunt. Oh, come on, I can't be a team on my own. You have to join in. Sort of hunt, gather, hunt. Yes, this is the one Amsterdam hunter-gatherer team. I thought you'd like that. Okay. So other animals hunt in teams, including saber-toothed tigers. They're going to win. So what you realize very quickly is we have to make the changes ourselves. The only change you love is the change you create yourself. And that's very true because hunter-gatherers have in this neck here, in the old crocodile brain bit, 2 bits of software. One stops you being eaten because every time you see a change, it switches off your logic, makes you scared, fills you with adrenaline, and you run. These days they don't run, they stand there in the meetings, but their brains are off, okay? But there's a second piece of software. And that means that when you think to stop you dying of hunger because it's hard to catch a rabbit, you always fall in love with your own ideas and you want to turn them into more food. And that's why all your own ideas are so brilliant. So if we go back and think a little bit about some of the hopes you had at the start, things like the easy ones, recreating yourself. We talked about that within the organization, make space. We talked about too much work. Talked about changing your habits. Work at a human level. Make space to do things as a human. Don't get caught up in that mad email game where you played like for tennis. We talked a little bit about how to make sure that we had the... actually, I can't read my own handwriting. It's all good. So, thank you very much.